Welcome to the deep dive. We're really glad you're joining us today.
Yes, especially since this one comes straight from source.
Welcome to the deep dive. We're really glad you're joining us today.
Yes, especially since this one comes straight from source material. You provided some fascinating text exploring the Universal Father.
Exactly. So, our mission here is pretty clear. We want to unpack this material together.
Pull out the key insights, really try and understand what it's telling us about the nature and reality of the Universal Father.
It starts right off describing him as the first source and center of absolutely everything. So, yeah, get ready to look at reality from maybe a slightly different angle.
Definitely.
Okay, let's jump into this. The material, as you said, starts by framing the Universal Father as, well, the God of all creation, the first source and center.
Right. And it breaks down his role initially into three parts: creator, controller, and then the infinite upholder of it all.
And it makes an interesting historical point, doesn't it, about moving from the idea of many gods to one God.
Uh-huh. It suggests that shift was crucial. It let people grasp God not just as a creator, but as the single, infinite controller of everything. That unified view wasn't really possible before, you know?
That makes sense. And the text gives a reason for all this creation, the universe of universes,
Yeah.
why it exists.
Yeah, it says it was made specifically to be inhabited by intelligent creatures, beings like us, who could actually know God.
And not just know him, but receive divine affection and, importantly, love him back.
Right. It wasn't just made for no reason. It was designed to be inhabited by beings capable of that relationship.
And it mentions that, the enlightened worlds out there, they recognize and worship the same universal Father.
The eternal maker, the infinite upholder they see at the heart of it all.
Which brings us right to the goal, this incredible goal set for creatures, including us. The text calls it the long, long paradise journey.
It's not just floating around, it's a path, a purposeful path with what it calls a transcendent goal.
Which is,
well, finding the eternal God, comprehending his divine nature, recognizing the universal Father. That's the goal.
but there's more, right? The supreme ambition.
Yes, exactly. That's even bigger. To become like him.
Okay, now hold on. Before we think become infinite, the material clarifies this, yeah.
It does. Very important point. It's not about becoming identical to God in his absolute perfection. That's impossible for us.
It says, as they are in their spheres, just as he is in his paradise perfection. And it gives that famous mandate, be you perfect, even as I am perfect.
And this is key for us. Urantia mortals, as the text sometimes calls us. Infinite perfection. No. But attaining this divine goal in our sphere, that's possible.
And what does that mean, practically speaking?
Well, the materials suggest it means achieving a fullness of self-realization, of mind attainment, but within our own realm. A perfection relative to our place in creation, comparable to God's perfection in his sphere of infinity.
So striving for this isn't just like a nice idea. The source presents it as our first duty.
Highest ambition, even. The certain destiny of our eternal spiritual progress.
And ultimately, the supreme adventure. It sounds like the core purpose of our whole journey.
That's the sense you get.
So, given how central this being is, how does the source talk about how he's known? Does he have a specific name?
Well, that's interesting. It says, he's known by many, many different names across all the universes and worlds.
Why so many?
It seems to depend on the creature's concept of the creator. Different levels of understanding, different perspectives.
And crucially, the text states God has never actually revealed himself by a specific name.
Only by his nature. That distinction feels really important.
It does. It helps explain why Father seems like such a natural choice for creatures like us.
Right. It grows out of recognizing that personal relationship with the first source and center. It's not assigned, it's discovered.
And this connects to another major point the material makes. He never forces recognition or worship.
Absolutely not. It has to be voluntary, a genuine response from the creature.
In fact, it says dedicating your will to doing the Father's will is, what is it, man's choicest gift to God.
The only possible gift of true value, because it's freely given.
The source lists a few other names reflecting different concepts, like first source, universal center, Father of universes.
Infinite upholder, divine controller, Father of lights, gift of life, all-powerful one. They capture different facets.
And it adds that on worlds where one of his sons, a paradise son, has lived among them, a bestowal life, it calls it.
Yeah, like appearing in the flesh.
Then God becomes known by names that reflect that direct relationship, like our Father.
That close creature-creator association becomes clearer then.
Here on our world, Urantia, God is obviously the most common term.
But the text really emphasizes that the name itself isn't the main thing.
What matters is knowing him and aspiring to be like him.
Exactly.
So let's talk about the reality of God according to this text. How is he described?
It's quite powerful. God is presented as the primal reality in the spirit realm. He's the source of truth in the mind spheres. And he overshadows everything, even in the material realms.
And for beings like us, created intelligences with personality.
For us, God is a personality, the first source and center of all eternal reality.
The source is also pretty clear about what God isn't, right?
Yes, it pushes back against certain ideas. He's not just reality idealized or the universe somehow personalized.
Not just our supreme desire projected outward or a mere concept or raw power.
Or nature personified or natural law. No, the text insists he's a transcendent reality. Fundamentally, a saving person and a loving father.
Okay, but how is this reality, this personality, actually demonstrated in our experience? How do we know?
That's where the concept of the indwelling divine presence comes in. A spirit monitor, or divine adjuster, as it's called.
Sent from paradise.
To live within the mortal mind, working with us, helping to evolve an immortal soul.
So it's not just a vague feeling. The text says this presence reveals God's existence in specific ways.
Yes, 3 experiential phenomena. First, our intellectual capacity to even conceive of God consciousness.
Okay.
Second, that deep spiritual urge to search for him, God-seeking.
And third,
That personality craving, the desire to be like God, to align our will with his.
and the text makes a point about proof here, doesn't it?
It does. It stresses that God's existence can't be proven like a scientific theory or a logical theorem.
It's realized.
It's realized directly in human experience. And this personal inner experience is presented as the only real proof one person can offer another. It's experiential.
The source also touches on how creation happens. It says the universal Father personally creates paradise and the central universe.
Absolute core of reality. But the vast outer universes, like ours, Nebadon,
They're created and organized by his sons. Paradise sons, like the one named Michael, who is credited with creating our specific local universe.
right. But even with the sons doing the creating locally, the Father's overall control is absolute.
How does that work?
Well, he exercises cosmic over-control physically through the Isle of Paradise. He functions as mind through the infinite spirit. And he manifests as spirit through the eternal Son and his children.
But that doesn't mean he's hands-off or distant.
Not at all. The text is clear. He still acts directly and personally throughout creation, often using these fragmented spirit presences, like the adjusters inside us, as points of contact.
There's that simple, direct statement in the source, God is spirit.
Yeah, and it means it literally. He's a universal spiritual presence, an infinite spiritual reality.
And this ties into the idea of being created in his image.
Exactly. It's not about physical looks. It means being indwelt by these divine fragments, the mystery monitors sent from him. That's the image, the spiritual connection.
Spirit beings are real, the text says, but invisible to us.
Right, invisible to our physical eyes.
So why can't we see him? Is he hiding?
No, not hiding. The source explains his spiritual brilliance is just too intense, too overwhelming for material creatures like us. It quotes, "No mortal can see me and live."
It refers to this overpowering spiritual light, unapproachable for us now.
A light no mortal man can approach, yes.
So seeing him, perceiving him, it takes something else.
It requires what the text calls the faith vision of the spiritualized mind. Not physical sight, but spiritual insight.
And this spirit nature is shared, right?
Fully shared with the eternal Son and the infinite Spirit. They form a unified spiritual reality. God is presented as both universal spirit and, crucially, a universal person.
Which leads us into this idea of divine mystery, because God is infinite and perfect.
He'll always be, in some ways, a mystery to finite minds like ours. We can't fully grasp infinity.
And the text points to one mystery as the greatest of all.
Yes, the greatest of all the unfathomable mysteries is specifically that divine indwelling, the adjuster within the mortal mind. It calls it the mystery of mysteries.
This is where that idea comes from, that our bodies are the temples of God.
Because something from God, a literal fragment of his spirit, dwells within us. That's the claim.
And there's this incredible promise tied to it.
That when this life ends, that indwelling spirit shall return to God who gave it. But more than that, it's designedly intended to be one with you, if you survive.
One with us. The divine fragment and our personality.
Intended for eternal union with your evolving self. That's the potential described.
So the divine mystery isn't just abstract, it's the gap between finite and infinite.
Temporal and eternal, creature and creator, material and spiritual, imperfection and perfection. That inherent difference creates mystery for us.
But even with the mystery, God isn't completely hidden.
No, the source is clear. He reveals himself to every creature right up to their capacity to grasp truth, beauty, and goodness.
So the limitation isn't on his side.
It's our capacity to receive, to discern spiritual reality. That's the only limit on experiencing that divine presence.
The text basically says God is real in spiritual experience, but explaining spirit stuff to physical minds. That's where the mystery comes in.
And that's where faith is needed. That inner vision, bridging the gap, allowing us to discern the eternal God despite the mystery.
Let's circle back to God's personality. This seems absolutely central in the material.
It really is. He's called the acme of divine personality, the origin and the ultimate destiny of all personality everywhere. God is both infinite and personal.
Now, the text acknowledges that God is way beyond our human idea of personality.
Oh, absolutely. Far beyond our limited concept. But for our finite minds, the highest possible concept we can form of the universal creator.
The source of love, will, relationship.
Is this highest idea of a divine personality. So the logic is, he cannot be less than that. He must be at least an eternal, infinite, true, good, and beautiful personality.
And again, he's not hiding just.
Dwelling in that spiritual light that's currently unapproachable for us in our unperfected state. His grandeur is just beyond our current grasp.
So we discern this invisible maker indirectly.
Through his creation, through his paradise sons like Michael for our universe, and through their spiritual representatives.
And the source gives this strong assurance. God is a person. It's not just an assertion.
No, it's presented as something confirmed by faith, by his provision for our eternal growth and his obvious delight in his children. The text insists he lacks none of the attributes of a perfect, loving, infinite creator personality.
And in our local universe, his personality is mainly shown through the creator son.
Primarily, yes. That's why it says when he had seen a creator son, he had seen the universal father. We don't get that direct perception of the father until we're spiritually transformed and reach paradise.
This feels like a really core takeaway. Without God, the great central person,
There would be no personality anywhere. Full stop. The source states it plainly. God is personality.
even though he's also power, presence, ideals, spirit.
He is still, above all, a perfect creator personality, one who can know and be known, love and be loved, befriend us, a real spirit and a spiritual reality.
The source mentions how this idea of a personal God came to humanity, not just reason.
Mainly through revelation, it says. Reason, wisdom, experience inferred it, but faith ultimately validates it.
And it suggests seeing God as personal is a sign of religious maturity after grasping his unity.
That seems to be the implication. And it presents a choice. If you deny the first source as personal, you're left with either materialism, just matter, no mind or spirit beyond it, or pantheism, where God is everything but not someone.
And personality isn't just a trait he has.
It's the totality of his infinite nature and his unified will expressed perfectly everywhere.
Now, God is perfect, unchanging. How does he relate to our experience, our growth? Does he have experiences?
Not in the way finite creatures do, gaining knowledge through trial and error. But the source says he enjoys continuous expansions of self-realization, something comparable, analogous to our experience.
And here's maybe the most intimate part, his connection to our struggles.
Deeply personal. The text says the Father directly participates in the personality struggle of every single imperfect soul seeking him. He realizes our progressive experience within his own infinite consciousness.
It quotes, "In all your afflictions, he is afflicted."
And amazingly, in all your triumphs, he triumphs in and with you. His divine spirit, the adjuster, is described as a real part of you.
Paraphrasing the source, in him we all live and move and have our being.
Exactly, that intimate connection.
So after all that, what's the bottom line? What's the spiritual value of grasping God as a personality, according to this material?
Well, it makes genuine fellowship possible. That's huge. Knowing God as a person, the living God, as Jesus called him, or the Father in heaven, enables that relationship.
It fosters intelligent worship, not just blind ritual, and it encourages trust.
Right. You can interact with forces, like gravity, but you can only have fellowship, a real relationship with another person.
That core father-child relationship described in the source demands personality on both sides.
Absolutely. And the text clarifies union with God isn't about dissolving into Him, losing yourself.
It's progressive, reciprocal spiritual communion.
Personality intercourse, it calls it. Attaining divine nature by consciously aligning your will with His. That sublime relationship requires two distinct personalities.
The material also connects things like goodness, beauty, truth directly to personality.
It argues they only make sense, are truly relatable in connection to a person. Only a person can love and be loved. Beauty and truth feel empty, maybe even hopeless, if they aren't attributes of a personal God, a loving Father who offers survival.
It even touches on that paradox. A changeless, perfect God in this evolving, imperfect universe.
And it suggests our own experience helps us faintly grasp this, how we maintain a stable personality and identity, even while constantly changing and dealing with a changing world.
And the source concludes this section by saying ultimate reality isn't grasped just by intellectual tools, math, logic, philosophy.
Although those are valuable. But it's grasped most deeply by personal experience, specifically the experience of progressively conforming your will to the divine will of a personal God.
It mentions higher personality concepts too: identity, self-consciousness, self-will, self-revelation.
And says these imply fellowship, like the relationships within the Trinity, the paradise deities who exist within that fundamental unity. The Lord God is one.
And, as the source itself notes, fully grasping all this. It's a journey.
It takes progressive spiritualization, growing as we ascend through the universes. It unfolds over time.
Wow. Okay, so we've really dug into the source material you brought us. We've explored the Universal Father as this first source and center.
The amazing goal of perfection He sets for us, the meaning behind His names, and the personal relationship He offers.
The reality of His being shown by that spirit fragment dwelling within us. His nature as universal spirit.
The mystery surrounding His presence in our finite lives, and maybe most importantly, the profound significance of understanding Him as a perfect, loving personality.
Yeah, this text paints a picture of God that's anything but distant or, abstract.
Not at all. It reveals a being incredibly involved with creation, actively seeking that voluntary personal relationship with every single one of us, inviting us on this unbelievable eternal adventure toward becoming like Him, each in our own way.
So maybe the final thought, based on everything in the source you shared. Perhaps the most mind-bending insight isn't just accepting intellectually that God is a personality. It's really grappling with the idea that a fragment, a piece of this infinite, universal, loving personality is actually living inside you right now, and it's designed, intended, to potentially become one with your own personality forever. What does that possibility, that potential union, mean for